So in Perek Gimel, we spoke about the 10 keiches of the Nefesh Elokis. In Perek Beis, we spoke about the Etzem Nefesh Elokis, the Chelik Elokami Mal Mamish, that's beyond the keiches. That's what it is. That's Muhus. Then there's the 10 keiches, the Seichel Amidus of the Nefesh Elokis. And now in Perek Daled, speaks about the levushim of the Nefesh Elokis. In order for those keiches to express themselves, they need levushim. So in Chassidus explains, Alter Rebbe in Teira'ir, that there's two kinds of levushim. The keiches that we spoke about in Perek Gimel, the Seichel Amidus, is also not the Etzem HaNefesh. It's also a keich of the Nefesh. It's also a type of a levush. But there's two kinds of levushim. There's a levush ha-miyuchad and a levush ha-nifrad. And the main mashal always is, we have the levush ha-miyuchad, is the body is also a levush for the neshama. The neshama is mislabish in the guf. And yet the hislabshus of the neshama and the guf is in a way that they become one. What's the Evan ha-beichin? How do you see that? You can never change your guf. I can't decide in the middle of my life to change my guf with someone else's guf. Mashenkein levushim, clothing, is a levush hanifrad. Brings the pasuk levush tachlifim v'yachleifu. That levush you could switch. So even though it's also a levush, it's a levush that's detached, that's a separate entity from the one that's mislabish in them. The same thing with the nefesh. The nefesh has 10 keiches. Those are levushim, those are keiches of the nefesh. It's not the etzem nefesh. And nevertheless, those are keiches that are misyached with the nefesh, like the guf is misyached with the neshama. That the nefesh becomes one with the seichel umidis. And then there's the levushim of machshava dibro maisa. Machshava dibro maisa is a levush hanifrad. Like you see that I'm able to switch my machshava dibur maisa whenever I want. And machshava could be, dibur maisa could be something that's not real, because it's separate from the person. I could think in my mind that 2 plus 2 is 5. I could say 2 plus 2 is 5. I can't understand that 2 plus 2 is 5. It's not possible that should make sense to me. I can't feel something that I don't really feel. Why? Because the keiches is a levush ha-miyuchad, that's me. So it could only be mizbate, it could only express itself in something real, that I'm. The levushim is something, it's a levush ha-nifrad. I could use it in whatever way I want. And nevertheless, the nefesh elokis, just like it has keiches, the nefesh elokis to be attached to the Eibishter, that's its whole inyan, that's its whole mahus, it needs to use the 10 keiches, the seichel umidis. It needs also the levushim. The keiches of seichel amidus have to take the levushim of machshava dibur maisa, and that's the nefesh elokis. That's how it's able to be what it is, which is a chelik elokami mal mamish that cares about being dovek in the Eibishter. Va'oid yesh l'chol nefesh elokis, besides the 10 bechines, the 10 keiches, every nefesh elokis has shloisha levushim, 3 levushim. Sheheim machshava dibur maisa shel taryag mitzvah satera. The 3 levushim are machshava, dibur, umaisa of Torah. Which means it's not the pshat that the neshama, the nefesh elokis, has the ability to think. It has a koyach hamachshava. The nefesh elokis is elikus. Whatever koyches it has are koyches that are used for elikus. It's not the pshat that the nefesh elokis has a koyach hamachshava and it's going to use it for thinking about the Eibishter. A machshava that's not about the Eibishter, the nefesh elokis can't be mislabish in it. Like a nefesh of a person, the guf is a levush, right? The nefesh is mislabish in the guf and they become one. So, l'chayra, the guf is a container. Any guf is a container, is a keli, a levush that a nefesh could be mislabish in. But we learn in Chassidus, a guf of a behema is not a keli for a nefesh adam. That's the inyan of gilgulim that causes tsar. It doesn't go together. It doesn't fit in. It's not a levush. The levush has to be masim for the thing that's being mislabish in it. The same way, a machshava of dvar b'telim, a dibur of dvar b'telim, it's not it has a kayach dibur. The nefesh elokis is not mislabish, even though the nefesh elokis is giving chayas to the person. So if the person, Lepeyel, speaks Dvar B'Telim, the Nefesh Elokis is tied to that, That's in a way like a neshama that comes begilgul in a behema. There's no levush. It doesn't fit in. It's imprisoned in it. The levushim of the nefesh alakis are machshava, dibur, ma'isa, shel taryag, mitzvah satera. That's how the keiches of the nefesh alakis could be mislabish, could express themselves. Shekesha'ad, mekayim b'maisa, kol mitzvahs maisiyas. When a person b'maisa fulfills all the mitzvahs, ubedibur hu esek bepirush kol taryag mitzvahs v'hilchisein, and he uses his kayach hadibur to speak about the mitzvahs. That's the Chelak HaDibur. Use the Kayach HaDibur to speak about the halachas of the mitzvahs and the meaning of the mitzvahs. Umachshava hu masik kol ma she'efshar lahasik b'pardes hatera. And with his machshava, he uses his Kayach HaSeichel to actually think and understand and grasp and comprehend the pardes hatera, every level of understanding Teira, Pshat, Remez, Drush, Seid. So then his nefesh alekis is being mislabish in these levushim and being connected with the Eibishter. And the nefesh alekis, says the Alter Rebbe, has taryag evarim. Just like the guf has 600 shasar gidim, ramach evarim, and shasar gidim. So there's 613 particles to the guf. So too the nefesh alekis has taryag ivrei nafshe. And when he uses the machshava, dibru, maisa, these three levushim bishleimos, hare klolos taryag ivrei nafshe milubashim b'taryag mitzvah satera. Then all the 613 parts of the nefesh alekis are now reaching their fulfillment because they're melubash in the taryag mitzvah satera through these three levushim. It says just like the body has 613 parts. So that's the reason, first of all, explains in other places in Chassidus that we say the neshama has 613 every nafshe, because each gashmistik ever has a part of the neshama that's mechayet. That the guf has 613 parts, evarim and gidim, each one plays a part, has an important purpose in the person. Chas v'shalom, I have 613. If only 612 are functioning properly, if there's one aver or one gid that's not functional, then the person is not well. Could be the smallest gid, could be the smallest part of him. It affects the whole person. Could be the biggest. Could lead to the biggest machlis. Everyone needs to be functioning, and then the person as a whole is healthy. The same thing with the neshama. There's taryag ivrei nafshe. To be a healthy nefesh alekis is through that he uses the ability of these shleisha levushim for all aspects of machshava, dibur, ma'isa, of Teira mitzvahs, so that all the taryag ivrei nafshe, all of them are necessary to be a healthy nefesh alekis, to be melubish in taryag mitzvahs hatera. Ubepratius, which specific parts of the nefesh alekis have to do with which specific levushim? Pchinas Chabad shebenafshe. The Chabad, his koyach haseichel of the nefesh alekis, when he learns Teira, then that's able to connect with the Eibishter through the levush of seichel. It's melubashes bahasagas Teira. That's melubash in the levush machshava, in understanding Teira shel masik b'pardes, according to what the person understands. How much Teira does a person understand? Every person has to understand according to his ability. What's his ability? Kifi yecheles hasagasei. The amount of Teira you'll understand will depend on how well your grasp is. One person has a better head, he understands more. The other person has a worse head, he understands less. As much as you understand, that's the levush. As much as if you understand, as much as you're able, then your nefesh alekis is melubish and asagas Teira. But the Alter Rebbe says it's not only that. V'sheirish nafshe l'mayla. How much Teira you understand doesn't depend only on your good head, on your kishrenas. Depends on your sheirish hanefesh. And that means in a few ways. There's the famous story that the Alshich used to go to the Shiur, the Arizal used to give a Shiur in Kabbalah every Shabbos. And the Alshich would go. The Alshich was a big darshan, and he was called the Alshich HaKadosh, right? So he would go, and every Shabbos he would fall asleep in the middle of the Shiur. He's coming to the Shiur of the Arizal, the Rebbe of the generation, and he felt terrible. He would go to sleep Friday night. He would try to sleep beforehand to be well rested, and he would come to the Shiur, he would fall asleep. Yeah, imagine a person falling asleep by a Shiur. He fell asleep. And he felt it must be because there's some pagam in his neshama. Why is he falling asleep by the Shiur of the Arizal? So he went to the Arizal, he asked him, what's the blemish in his neshama? How could he be misakin? He shouldn't fall asleep. So the Arizal told him he doesn't have any blemish. He said, the reason why he's falling asleep, he said, your neshama is from Elam Hadrush, and therefore you're not a keli for Kabbalah, for Seid. Doesn't have to do with your Sheirish and neshama. So you see, the Sheirish Nafshi L'mayla has an effect on what the person understands and how much he's going to have a Sagas Atera. But that has a very practical application. A person has a difficulty understanding Torah. It doesn't have to do only with how smart you are. It doesn't have to do mainly with how smart you are. The understanding Torah comes from the Sheirish and Neshama. And therefore you have to make sure that your pipes from your Sheirish and Neshama are not blocked. And then you'll start understanding Torah. I don't have said a number of times a story. There was a mashpia, a rav in Eretz Yisrael. His name was Rabbi Sheil Ber Zislin. And once a bacher came to him and with questions, things that he didn't understand. But the questions were questions in emunah that is supposed to be by a yid, darf sich ablegen by him. And so why is he not understanding? He's asking. So Rabbi Sheil Ber said to him, "Gei mikveh. Go to the mikveh." He went to the mikveh, he came back, and he said, now he understands. And the same thing, another story, there was Rabbi Yisrael Nevler, was a Melamed. Once in class, in the Cheder, whatever, and there was a boy, one of the children, he didn't understand the Mishnah. He's teaching a Mishnah, he didn't understand. He explains him again, he didn't understand. He explains. Mom, you start getting frustrated. Versteht nicht. Finally, he says, Geh gieß Negelwasser. He realized he's not understanding. It's not because of the hasbara, not because of his smartness. Something's missing by him. So when he washed Negelwasser, he came back, he right away understood the Mishnah. So when you have a problem understanding Torah, so says Alter Rebbe, it's Sheirish Nafshi L'mayla. You have to make sure to correct your connection with the Sheirish and Neshama. Amal darf mit Shuvatan, Amal darf Zena, as the Negelwasser is Kedeboy, the Mikveh is Kedeboy, the Alin Yanim, and then you have a clear path from your Sheirish and Nefesh. So the Kaya Chabad, the Chabad of the Nefesh Elokis is Melubish in Hasagas HaTorah. That's the Levush. That's how it's able to realize what it is. V'hamides, the Midas of the Nefesh Elokis, Shenyira, V'ava, V'anfeim, V'til Deseim. The Ikri HaMidas, we said in Perek Gimel, is Chesed and Gvura, and then they have the rest of the Midas, which are the branches and the Tildes of Chesed and Gvura. Tiferes, Netzach, Yiseid, Malchus. Melubash is there Melubish, B'kiyim HaMitzvahs and Kiyim HaMitzvahs. That Kiyam HaMitzvahs you do b'maisa u b'dibur. So both Kiyam HaMitzvahs b'maisa and dibur are the levushim for the midas, like he's going to explain. But first he says, what's dibur? Maisa obviously is putting on tefillin, putting on tzitzis, doing the mitzvah. What's dibur? Shehu Talmud Torah shekeneged kulan. The dibur of mitzvahs is Talmud Torah. Because the main mitzvah of Talmud Torah is dibur, is speaking words of Torah. In Likutei Torah, a few weeks ago, where Alter Rebbe speaks about how Torah mitzvahs is divided to Machshava, Dibur, Maisa, corresponds with the three kavin. So obviously, Maisa mitzvahs is Maisa. Gemilas Chasadim is Maisa. He says Torah, Veda, Gemilas Chasadim corresponds with Machshava, Dibur, Maisa. So Gemilas Chasadim, which is Maisa mitzvahs, is Maisa. Torah and Aveda, which one goes for which? For Dibur and Machshava. So you would think Tefillah is Dibur, Torah is Machshava. The Rebbe says Tefillah is Machshava, because Ezo Avedi Shebelev is Tefillah. And Talmud Torah is Dibur, because Talmud Torah, the mitzvah of Talmud Torah is Dibur. So that corrects two misconceptions. People think davening is saying the words of davening. That's not davening. Tefillah is Machshava. The davening is feeling it, thinking it. And learning, if you're thinking learning, that's not learning. Learning has to be verbal. You have to say everything and say it out loud. Shu Talmud Torah keneged kol. Now, why are the midas, why is the mitzvahs levushim for midas? Mitzvahs is maisa. It's koyach ha-maisa. What do the maisa mitzvahs have to do with the midas? Ki ha'ava hi sheresh kol ramach mitzvahs hasei. Because Ava, all Ramach mitzvahs say come from Ava. That's the sheirish of the mitzvahs. To do mitzvahs properly is because I love the Eibush. To Mimenahim nimshachis. They come from Ava. Ubil Ada, without Ava, Ein Lam Kiyum Amiti. You're not truly doing the mitzvah. You're not with an emes being Mekayim the mitzvah. What's with an emes? We say, Karev Havaya L'chol Keirav L'chel Asher Yikra'uhu Ve'emes. What's the taish? L'chel Asher Yikra'uhu Ve'emes. You could call to the Eibishter, you could daven to the Eibishter. And Chassidus says the Lush, I think Yikra'uhu Ve'emes from the Nekudas Ha'emes in his love. Yikra'uhu Ve'emes is that when am I davening? When I'm truly, it's coming from inside of me. Otherwise, I could be saying the words, it's not Yikra'uhu Ve'emes. The same thing with a mitzvah. I could be doing the mitzvah b'maisa. That's not a kiyum b'emes. It's not me doing the mitzvah. When is it called me doing the mitzvah? When the maisa mitzvah is expressing what I'm feeling. It's coming from inside of me. You learned in the Gemara, some of you I think, Tanya ein lo yad ve'ein lo daled amos. Right? You learned the Gemara? You didn't Shiur Aleph, didn't you guys learn it? That's your chav today. No? So you look, Tanya, what do you mean Tanya ein lo yad? Tanya doesn't have a hand? Tanya ein lo yad. What does it mean she doesn't have a hand? She has a hand. She has no das. She has no seichel. What does it mean she has no hand? The pshat is, if I have seichel, amidis, so then when I do something with my hand, that's me doing it. The hand is just a tool that's expressing what I'm thinking. But when I don't have seichel or midis, so then the pshat is it's not my hand. The hand is doing something. It's not me doing it because I don't have that fuel that's fueling what I'm doing. Or the same thing you say, someone does something ba'inus, I'm forced to do it. It's not called my maisa hamitzvah or maisa havera. My body did it. It's not me doing it. When is it mekaimon be'emes? It's be'emes. It's coming me. I'm taka doing it. When the action that I'm doing is a oizdruk, it's a bitui, it's coming from my feeling and my seichel. In our case, we're talking about mitzvahs when the midas is fueling it. My love for the Eibishter is coming out in me doing the Maisa mitzvah. So such a mitzvah is a kiyum be'emes, then it's taka me doing it. Otherwise, if it's not coming from what I'm feeling, so the mitzvah is my hand doing the mitzvah. It's a chitzenius tekeinyan. It's not part of me. It's just like it's not yikra'u be'emes. Okay, we'll continue.